What's up, everybody? This is the Alternative Edge. I am your host, Tony Cotillo from the Tony Cotillo Show. And tonight we're talking fantasy football. Very, very simple. I just got done doing my first ever TikTok live. Never thought I'd be doing that before. So TikTok live. Listen, I'm gearing up. I'm gearing up. You got any questions? Obviously, give us a follow or give me a follow at Tony Cotillo Show on all social formats. Most importantly, make sure you're liking and subscribing the stream right here on the Tony Cotillo Show. And again, what's your fantasy football question? What's your fantasy football question? Very, very simple. What do you have? Let's answer it. Let's have some fun because tonight I'm going to talk about value stacks and best ball. And best ball, I'll tell you what, has been a revelation. It's been an absolute revelation for me who's wearing like 35 different hats and trying to do 1,000 different things, right? But what's your fantasy football question? Let's get into tonight. But tonight we are going to get into value stacks for best ball because I don't know if you do best ball yet. Is there a reason why you don't do best ball yet? But if you don't do best ball, you need to be doing best ball, okay? Because it literally is one of the best ideas ever when it comes to fantasy football because it allows you to do so many different things. It allows you to do the slow draft. It allows you to really strategize through your drafts, and that's what we want to talk about when you talk about fantasy value stacks. Now, again, you have to have a different mindset when you get into stacking specific positions. And you have to get into a different mindset when you go into these drafts. And you go into, okay, who's going to be first, who's going to be second, meaning from the quarterback position. But then again, it's like, number one, you need at least two, right? Three is definitely the sweet spot for me when it comes to best ball. Some people do the suicide thing and they only do two. For me, I need to do three. And I want to go over a couple late stacks that I think you get in double-digit rounds, 10, 11, 12, and even further when it comes to best ball. Underdog obviously is going to be the platform of choice. So let's get right into who is. And again, make sure you like and subscribe as always. So let me go over some of my favorite stacks. I have four of them. Some of them could be earlier rounds, some be late rounds. So let's just start off with I'll give you the two that I love the best last. So usually it's a top three, but it's always gonna be top four. But just for the hell of it, let's do the top three. Let's do the top 3A and 3B is what we'll do. And let's go with 3A right now. I'm going to go Matt Stafford and Tutu Atwell. Let's think about why I love these value stacks. Now, I've done 5 best ball drafts in the past week and a half, I would say. And Matthew Stafford is getting drafted 12th to 15th round out of an 18-round best ball draft, right? So looking at that, to me, that's tremendous value, right? That's tremendous value. And the reason why is because he's in a dynamic offense. I think we all know that. And again, this isn't as your number one guy. This isn't as your number two. This is just your two or your three, depending on how high you want those quarterbacks. Now, a lot of my quarterbacks that I've had in my best ball drafts, it's crazy, but I've walked away with Patrick Mahomes and Caleb Williams as my 1 and 2 punch in literally every single one. And then I always have a third quarterback. And one time is Matt Stafford. And again, Matt Stafford, great year last year. He's with a, offensive mastermind in Sean McVay. We all know that. Their offensive line had some issues based on injury, but they're still very, very solid. Great running game in Kyron Williams. You already know about Puka Nacua. We already know coming over at Devontae Adams. And that just gives Matthew Stafford an opportunity, but it also gives another guy an opportunity in Tutu Atwell, who is that playmaking caliber receiver that does a lot of different things. Now, I look at this and he's been going any 17th, 18th round. Okay. 17th, 18th round for Tutu Atwell. And we may not think that's a big deal. Okay. I think it's an extremely big deal because as a wide receiver three, you remember back in the day, I think we all remember, well, at least people that are NFL historians remember the greatest show on turf. And the reason why it was the greatest show on turf because I had three really good wide receivers. Obviously, Torrey Hall of Fame, the Reverend Isaac Bruce. And then you had Oz Akeem, who was the forgotten guy. But Oz Akeem was a guy that he was a wide receiver three, but could be easily a wide receiver two, and possibly on some teams a wide receiver one. And it's because he did so many different things, whether it be the slot, whether run the X, whether run the Y. Didn't matter. He did everything. And I honestly think that's what Tutu Atwell is here for the LA Rams. And the reason why I say it, number one, he's consistent. Consistency is always to me his key. Can you stay healthy? He's a smaller guy, pretty muscular though, takes care of himself. And listen, 33 games in 2 years. That's obvious. He takes care of himself, meaning he stays healthy. 16, 17 games respectively, 23 and 24. Targets completely consistent, 67 and 62. So he's already going to get a few of those maybe above. I would say he'll go up to 70 in targets. Basically about 40, 41 catches the last 2 years. But here's what I like last year. Targets lower from 67 to 62, and then his receptions go up 49 to 42 or 39 to 42, but his yardage goes up almost 100. And it's because his yards per catch went up a full point. I love that. That just shows that they're allowing him to get deeper. They're allowing him to be more of a go guy than just a gadget guy, right? Not a little jet sweeps, maybe wide receiver screens. No, they're allowing Tutu to go deeper. And I think that speaks volumes when you're bringing a guy like Devontae Adams in. You already have Puka. Both those guys are going to stretch the field a little bit. It's going to give Puka, or it's going to give Tutu that middle of the field to be able to go back and forth. So I love, again, this is late round stacks for best ball. Matthew Stafford, Tutu Atwell. I think these are two fantastic plays when we look at the back end of that. Sean McVay, coach of the year is, I like that. See it. I like that. My boy seeing a job on X. Make sure you check him out. Plus 27, man. 27 and 1 for Sean McVay. I'll tell you what. See it. What I said multiple times on the air. I have a complete offensive man crush on Sean McVay. I love everything about Sean McVay. So I am in on Sean McVay. Now let's get to another stack that I think this is a little different one. This may not get a ton because I don't think people are going to like the wide receiver, but that's okay. Again, late round stacks, fantasy football, best ball right here on the alternative edge. Let's go rookie Cam Ward in Tennessee with the 32-year-old wide receiver that everybody says doesn't have anything left in Tyler Lockett. Please hear me out for a second before you start slamming this. Okay, listen to the logic. And again, I keep saying this. These are late. This isn't people you're going to lean on. These are the kind of stacks in best ball that could possibly win you your league. Right? Say you draft a Patrick Mahomes and he goes down, and Caleb Williams can't figure out the playbook right away for Ben Johnson, and then you got this guy in Cam Ward who all of a sudden starts getting your leading point getter for 2 or 3 or 4 weeks, and then it allows you to break through that injury with Mahomes, get Caleb Williams back on track, and allows you to get those extra points and win. So that's the way I look at this when we talk about late round stacks. So let's look at Cam Ward. Why do I like Cam Ward? Now, again, I know he got a lot of flack. All right, listen, is he going to be the guy? First of all, we damn sure know Will Levis isn't the guy, right? I think we all agree with that. The best thing, now I do a lot of behind the scenes research about character and culture. And that's one thing where I get a little different. because I won't draft guys because they have a bad attitude. I won't draft guys if I think they're going to be a cancer in the locker room. If they're going to hold it, like I don't want any of those distractions because that just distracts the team, but it distracts the individual. Everything that I read about Cam Ward, this dude is prepared. I mean, listen, let's take away that dumb clip that we watched with him and Shador Sanders about Shador wants to rap and Cam's like, I want to practice. I don't care about it. It's nothing to do with it. What it has to do with, everybody within that Titans organization has said this dude's been a leader since day one. He's come in, he's crashing the playbook. He's getting better every day. He's trying to recognize coverage. He's trying to play in the film room. Google it, man. I'm telling you, this is no bullshit. This is what Cam Ward's doing. So when I see that, I say this dude wants to be great. This dude could care less about everybody else. He knows he's very prideful. He's a prideful player. And we have a prideful player. You have somebody that is going to go that next level. And by accident, okay? So it's going to happen. So I look at Cam Ward and I say, here's a kid who, and listen, I love Calvin Ridley, right? No disrespect about Calvin Ridley. But teams are obviously going to try and take Calvin Ridley out because, like, who else is going to beat me on this team, right? I mean, it's very simple logic, right? When we talk about this. So I go and say, okay, if we're going to take Calvin Ridley out, and obviously you're going to have to draft Calvin Ridley a little higher, and I do think he gets banged a little bit, right? Because of the Cam Ward effect. And, honestly, but they bring Tyler Lockett. They sign him for a 1-year prove-it deal, right? It's $4 million. I think he gets like $2 or $3 million in incentives if he plays X amount of games. It could go up to like $6 or $7 million. I know a lot of it is like his wide receiver 2 days are numbered. I don't believe that. Okay, I don't, and I'm going to tell you why. That situation out there in Seattle last year, it sucked completely. Like, there's a lot of things happened out there. It didn't it just, Geno was a different guy. That offense just did not play out. DK had some issues. I think there were some culture problems. I think there was a lot of behind the scenes stuff that we didn't know. So I look at last year as a blip. Now, do I think that we're going to be talking about 120 targets and 110 catches? No, but listen, you have a guy that went from 122 to 74. It's like 50 catches, man. That's a lot. That's a lot. But here's what I think is interesting is what I look at is his yards per catch went up almost a full yard last year. Even though he had an off year, it went up almost a full yard. What does that mean? That means he still got speed. He's still got that speed. And what is a guy like Cam Ward going to look for? Is he going to look for a guy that's going to go deep all the time and Calvin Ridley go up against kind of guy? Or is he going to look at a guy like Tyler Lockett that's going to run a great skinny post? That's going to run a great X route to the sideline. That's going to go across the middle and make that tough catch to make it easy on the rookie. That's why I like Tyler Lockett. So again, these are, I will say it again because I'm going to get blasted by the trolls right away. Everyone's saying, oh, this guy's drafted Cam Ward as his number two. No, these are value stacks for best ball that you're going to get past like round 12, 13, 14 in an 18-round draft. So Cam Ward, Tyler Lockett, I really like. Now let's get to the meat and potatoes here, the top two before we get out of here. This is my second favorite. And I'm starting to love this more and more and more every day. That could be number one, but right now it's my number two stack. And that's going to be Bryce Young and Xavier Legette. I like Xavier Legette a lot. And I like him so much that I'm willing to take a plunge on this stack with Bryce Young and Xavier Legette. Now, looking at what Bryce Young did after we all know what happened, it's benched, he comes back. I don't think people really realize that was just like a double negative or idiom or whatever the hell you want to call it. But I don't think people honestly, there we go, I'll change it, honestly realize how good Bryce Young was last year when he was healthy. Okay. when he was healthy. If you go back and you look at week 8 on, like I think this is very important because it goes to show you he did a lot of different things. But from week 8 on, he was, except for week 9 and 10, where he only gave you 14, 15 fantasy points, he was 20 or above, or I should say like 19 or above for the rest. But he was steadily, he was very steady. He was very consistent. And the one thing I like about it is, listen, his yardage wasn't crazy. Okay. But if you're telling me I could draft a guy in the later rounds, listen, he had, what did he have last year? Nine picks. Okay. 9 picks. Needs to cut a couple of them down. Right. But for the most part, I'm going to get a 20 touchdown guy this year in Bryce Young. He stays healthy. He's going to give me 20. I say, honestly, probably 23 to 24 touchdowns this year. If he does that, he's obviously going to have to throw to somebody, right? Now, you go back and you look at these receivers. Obviously, you look at the elder statesman and Adam Thielen, who had a fantastic year, right? Is that going to happen again? I'm not sure, right? They draft McMillan at number 8 overall, right? So everybody's all big on McMillan all the time. Let me draft TM, right? Let me draft TM. He was the number 8 overall pick. Listen, I'm telling you, I don't trust it right away, right? I think people are going to stretch on picking him in a very heavy, talented wide receiver pool in fantasy. So I would just be very, very careful, where you're getting McMillan, because I'll go with another guy who's only 24 years old, his second year, and he started to come on. Okay. And again, I know you're going to look at it and say, oh, this guy stunk, right? Only a couple catches, only there. But you have to understand, as a rookie, like I say this all the time, goes hand in hand. Bryce Young and Xavier had to figure out who each other was, right? They had to figure out who each other was last year. And I do look at this, and from what I read, again, speaking on film study, work ethic, wanting to be better, Xavier Legette has all of that. So I'm looking at a guy who had 84 of 49. He easily gets 100 targets this year. Easily. And if he can break down, he can bring that target to catch ratio up another 20, 25%. You're talking a 75 catch campaign that give you about 800 to 900 yards and possibly 5 or 6 touchdowns for a guy that's being drafted in the 16th, 17th, 18th round of best ball drafts. That's why I say it's late round value. That's why I say they're the kind of guys that you target. Now let's get the number one. And it's going to be Aaron Rodgers and Calvin Austin. I know. Everybody should be like, bro, relax the Aaron Rodgers. I am telling you right now, I drafted 5 teams already, and I took Aaron Rodgers in every single one of them. Why? I got him in the last round. Yes, the last round, or I should say the second round, 17. I took my third quarterback. He's always sitting there. Nobody's taking him. And then on top of that, one thing we know about Aaron Rodgers, he loves his wide receivers, right? But he also loves his wide receivers that aren't his main guys. That's why Allen Lazard was a guy that we all jumped on, right? We all jumped on Allen Lazard. He likes his wide receiver 2s and 3s. And looking at how much coverage is going to get over there in DK Metcalf, it just makes me super excited to be like, yo, Calvin Austin is going to be sitting out there. Calvin Austin is just going to be looking for somebody to draft me. And another guy, you could get Aaron Rodgers and Calvin Austin in the 17th to 18th round. Honestly, think about that. Calvin Austin last year had almost 60 targets, right? Almost 600 yards. His yards per catch is 15 and a half. That was last year with Russell Wilson. What do you think it's going to be this year with Aaron Rodgers? Like, this is my point. Like, this dude's only going to go up on that 15 and a half. That could go to 16, 17. So if we're sitting there, we're like, yo, listen, Calvin Austin, I'm going to draft him in the 17th round. I'm going to draft Aaron Rodgers in the 18th round. I'm going to get my best ball stack. That's going to be my third option. So, like, I'll give you an example. In one draft, I have Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, Hollywood Brown. I got a triple play. I also have Caleb Williams, Colton Loveland, and Roman Dunze. Another triple play. So now I go Calvin Austin and I go Aaron Rodgers. Very, very late. You can't win, man. It's a win-win. Calvin Austin with a healthy Aaron Rodgers and DK Metcalf on the other side. Honestly, he's going to trip over 50 catches this year. So if based on his yards per catch average, okay, if he gets 50, he's going to get 750 to 800 yards. Like, you're getting him. That's a wide receiver 2 in the 17th round of a best ball draft that could easily be your flex top point getter every single week, based on what these Pittsburgh Steelers are going to do. So that's why I love the stack of Aaron Rodgers and Calvin Austin. So there we have it. They're your stacks. Okay, let's go through them again before we get out of here. Let's go Cam Ward and Tyler Lockett, Matthew Stafford, Tutu Atwell, Aaron Rodgers, Calvin Austin, and Bryce Young and Xavier Legette. That's what I'm rolling with, boys. That's what I'm rolling with. Another fantastic alternative edge breakdown. Again, nothing but stacks right here for value in your best ball draft. The alternative edge. This is Tony Cotillo of the Tony Cotillo Show. And again, we're going to get out of here. Get over to TikTok. Okay? Go follow the Tony Cotillo Show over there on TikTok, because I just did my first TikTok live tonight, and it went really, really well. And I'm getting a lot of traction over there with a very small follower base, but a lot of conversing in the comments. So I highly implore you to go out there, go to TikTok and follow me over there, so we can have some daily discussions about who to draft, when to draft, what the props are going to be, what the future market's going to be. And then, listen, we get ready for fantasy football, and we get ready for those stars and stiffs every single week. So again, Tony Cotillo right here for the Tony Cotillo Show. This is the Alternative Edge, where all your fantasy insights meet value plays. We'll get it back at you.